how did you start doing what you do? The being the personal trainer and nutritionist and all that good stuff. How did that come about?
Yeah, great question. Kind of a long story. I'll try to make it short and sweet. So I'm a registered dietitian by training. Way back when I went to college, I went to Central Michigan University. I'm a Michigan person, live in Michigan. I study nutrition. I was very interested in kind of health in general. So my degree was in nutrition, and had a minor in personal and community health. And then I went on to complete an internship and earned my registration for becoming a registered dietitian. And I've worked in, lots of different areas in my career. I've been a registered dietitian for about, just over 20 years now, actually.
Wow.
And so I started my career in public health, and then I went into a clinical setting in a local medical office doing weight management and diabetes education. And it was right there as I was sitting in that clinical office, kind of thinking like, there's a better way to do this. Like there's people that I could help on a little bit more of a personal level, rather than kind of being handcuffed by the constraints of insurance and how frequently I see them and all of that good stuff. So this little idea started formulating in my head about doing some nutrition coaching with people. So I kind of just I'm going to start this little business, and never in a million years did I think it would have taken off like it has. And, I've found all kinds of wonderful clients like yourself. And in the mix there, I also became a certified personal trainer. I always had an interest in fitness, but I wasn't a personal trainer at the time. But I've since gotten that certification, and then was starting to just kind of teach some local classes in person, some group fitness classes, and then the whole pandemic hit and things kind of shifted to virtual classes, and away we went. So that's a big part of my business now, is doing virtual fitness with women all over the country, all over the world. So it's kind of how I ended up here.
And it's so great. And I love doing it. And one thing I love too, that I've seen you talk about a lot, is with the fitness part, with the exercise and the training and the weights, you didn't really always start off, from what I've heard, with weight workouts. A lot of people sort of get in that, I just want to do endless hours of cardio and I want to burn as many calories as possible.
Yeah.
How did you sort of change that mindset, and why?
Yeah, great question. So, right, I kind of refer to myself as a cardio queen in my younger days. I was always real active. I was kind of involved in sports all through high school, and then, just stayed active through college. And then as I kind of got married and had my children, it just has kind of always been a nice outlet for me. I've always enjoyed things like bike riding and running and, walking, that kind of stuff, staying active. And so for a long time, it's kind of just all that I really knew. Like, I'm just going to go open up my door and just go for a run, or go outside and take a bike ride. And once I kind of got in that mix of having had my children and, having to go through all of that, like my body's changed and now I want to lose this weight and, get thin again after having had 3 children. The focus really was like, exercise is going to help me make my body smaller, right? Like, I'm going to go and do all this running because I want to see a certain number on the scale, and I want my body to get smaller. And I did that for a long time, like run, and then run some more. And what I found, I did that all through my kind of late 20s into my 30s, late 30s. And what I found was that I never felt good. I never felt confident about myself. Even when I saw maybe a low number on the scale, I never felt really good and strong and healthy. Yes, I could get small and maybe to my lowest weight, but it just became a point where I'm tired of kind of chasing the smallest version of myself anymore. And what can I do differently that's going to maybe help me feel better about myself? And all of a sudden, the light bulb went off, maybe I should start lifting weights. And this was before I became a certified personal trainer. And so I just started in my basement and had some dumbbells at home. And I kind of just started plugging along, doing some things that I kind of picked up and learned a little along the way. And it was really quickly, I recognized the value of incorporating strength training into my routine and how it started not only shifting my body, but shifting my mindset from my body needs to be smaller and smaller and smaller to I'm feeling stronger and what am I capable of? And now I've got muscles and my core is stronger and I've got less back pain and, just feeling so much healthier overall.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest things about working out with you. And even, working out as a woman I'm about to be 41 pretty soon, very much relate to that idea of, I just want to lose weight. I just want to get small. I just want to be thin. But really, sure, that can be icing on the cake at times, but there are so many other benefits to lifting weights and working out, especially as we age. Can you talk a little bit more maybe about the ways that lifting weights is good for you other than just the weight loss?
Yeah. Other than the aesthetics, right? Like that's I think of it now as that's a bonus. That's, like you said, icing on the cake. So definitely. I mean, I mentioned it already. I think women who strength train, they become empowered and their confidence just soars. So I think mentally and mindset, what does that do for us in so many aspects of our life? I've had women who tell me, I went for a new job that I never would have done this before if I hadn't been in this program and doing this strength training. I just have this confidence about myself that now I can do those things. So I think mentally, confidence wise, mental health wise, I think it's hugely beneficial. Lots and lots of physical benefits. I mean, as women, as we age, we are going to slowly, with time, lose our muscle mass. It is a fact. We are going to, with each year, each decade of our life, we're going to lose our muscle mass, which means we lose our strength. And with time, we lose our functionality and our independence. Think about the women who don't do something to prevent that muscle loss. With time, they become frail and they become unable to do their day-to-day tasks, like take their garbage out, go get their groceries, lift their laundry, all of these things that, now as we're kind of into this midlife time frame, we're kind of thinking a little farther down the road. I want to be healthy and strong and independent, and I need to hang on to my muscles in order to do that. So strength training helps us maintain our lean muscle mass, which helps us to maintain our strength and functionality as we get older. Also, as women, we have a slow, steady loss of bone mass as we age, and that can be prevented with strength training. We can actually halt that process. We can maintain our bone density as we age, which then makes us less susceptible to a break or a fracture as we get older. And not only that, having strength and muscle mass, it prevents injury. Okay. So we're less likely to trip and fall, lose our balance because we've got a strong core and we have strong body that can kind of help support ourselves. So those are some of the key benefits. Also reduction, an improvement in blood sugar. So reduction in diabetes risk and some other chronic diseases are going to be reduced with regular exercise, but strength training as well.
Yes. And one of those specific moves I was just thinking of actually when you talk about keeping your ability to function and to be a little independent as we age. In our workouts, we do a sit to stand. Can you explain what a sit to stand is and what that is doing for someone that'll be hugely beneficial in the future?
Yeah. Good question. And I will say that, we really try to use a lot of compound movements that are hitting some major muscle groups that are relating to functionality in life, right? We're not just doing these lifts to make our arm definition look better or, enhance the tightness in our backside. Of course, that's the bonus.
Although we do love that.
Yeah, we do love that. Yeah, we do love that. but it is promoting that functionality. And so the sit to stand, yeah, it's kind of like a nemesis for some women in the program because it can take a little bit for people to conquer it. But essentially, a sit to stand is getting on a sturdy chair or flat bench, and we hold a weight in front of us, and it's a one-legged sit to stand. So the goal is to maintain balance on one leg as you sit down and then stand up. And it's really just trying to maintain the balance on that one leg. And what that does is it requires a lot of core strength and stability, and it requires a lot of strength in the one leg that you're working. And so I like to do it because it's great for that functionality. Like, it allows you to get up and out of that chair as you get older. Now, yes, you're not going to be doing it one-legged unless you want to challenge yourself as a 70 or 80-year-old woman. I think it's a great idea to do that. But it just provides for that functionality, that function of sitting down and standing up and being able to do that maybe without a handrail. Perhaps you don't have a handrail on the chair that you're using. So you have to engage that core, use that core strength to help you. Maybe you do have an injury in your arm or something, or you're holding something. Maybe you're holding your grandchild and you want to be able to get up out of that chair, and you can't push yourself with those arms. So what do you have to use? You have to use your legs and your core to do that. So that's the one-legged sit to stand. And we go up and down, and I always say, quick tap on the booty. We're not sitting there long, so we quick tap down, and then we go up, and we do about 8 on each side.
Yes, and you don't let gravity help you.
That's right.
Big thing too. And
you hear me say that a lot.
Yes, and speaking of, different movements being the nemesis of some people, I've definitely experienced that, and I feel like a lot of women, the nemesis is just working out in general. They want to be more fit. Maybe they want to lose weight. They want to get healthy. But I'm sure in your line of work, you see a lot of excuses. And, maybe they're reasons. We are busy. We have things going on. How do you sort of combat? What are maybe some of the most common excuses you hear? And how do you combat that with someone that is trying to make a change?
Yeah, great question. Oh yeah, the excuses are there. We all have them, and sometimes more than others. Time, I think in the population of women that I work with specifically is time is tight. Like I always say, you women are busy ladies. Like, you've got career, and often you've got high responsibility in your career, compared to when maybe you were in your late 20s or early 30s. All of a sudden you moved up the ladder a bit. So it's not just I'm out the door at 4:00 and I can come back tomorrow at 8. You've got more responsibilities on your plate at work. Often women in my program have children, whether it's, young children, usually it's a little bit older children. A lot of them are in activities, multiple activities. So they're running to volleyball and they're running to basketball, and that eats into the time that they have. Sometimes it's aging parents, whether parents are ill or they have to help care for parents or go travel if their parents get sick, if they're not living in their vicinity. So there's a lot of responsibilities that women in our age group have on them, and that leaves sometimes like this much time for women. So I think time is a big one, and I also think for a lot of women coming into maybe their early 40s, like for me, most of my 30s, my early to mid 30s are a complete blur. I had my third baby in a 5-year time span when I was 30. So my youngest was born when I was 30 years old. So from the time he was born till about the time he was 5, I mean, I don't even know what was going on in my life right then. So much of our time and our effort is focused on caring for others. Like, my primary responsibility was caring for my children. And then it was like my job. And that's about like all I could do, right? If I could sneak in a run, great. But I think then as we come into this like the kids are getting a little bit older. Now I'm getting into my 40s. I have a little bit more independence. I can leave them at home, or maybe they're going off to school. Maybe their activities aren't as high intense. Like I finally got a little bit more time for myself. But I think women have to also like be okay with giving themselves permission to make themselves a priority. And I see that as a barrier and as an excuse sometimes too. Like, I don't have time because I'm caring for my family. And that's great. But your family also wants you to be healthy, and you have to carve out some time for yourself to do that. So
Absolutely.
That was a long answer to that question.
No, it was great. And when it comes to time, that's a good point too. How about people that have sort of maybe that all or nothing mindset? You know, I'm guilty too of maybe I'll have a little bit of time, but I'll convince myself that it's not enough time to do anything effective. So I might as well not do anything at all. Would you say that's a myth?
Oh, for sure. You know, we talk about that all the time in the program, and it really trying to emphasize like, you got to get rid of that all or nothing mentality, because just because you don't have time for a 45-minute workout doesn't mean you can't do 20, and 20 might be enough to just keep you in the game. Right. Or, you know what, I can't get 3 workouts in this week. Like, what's the point? You know, and it's like, no, but you can do 2. So why not do 2? So we focus on a lot in the program, like progress over perfection. And we talk about consistency all the time. And that doesn't mean you got to show up perfectly all the time. And that doesn't mean you have to go all in because sometimes it's just a what can I do today? You know, what am I capable of? What can I put on my plate today? And yeah, maybe it's just a 15-minute walk at lunch, but that sure as heck is better than doing nothing at all. So I see the all or nothing mentality a lot, and we really try to just squash it as best we can.
Yes. And it can feel overwhelming and complicated, especially nowadays. I feel like we're so inundated with information, whether it's reels or videos we see online, all these different experts. And so if you had to give someone like bare bones basics, you know, if you want to be healthy, if you want your weight to be in check, if you want to be stronger, you've got a lot of information coming at you, but really you just need these basics. What would you tell them?
Yeah. Okay. Try to rein it in. So right. I get it. Because when women are taking in all this, because there's so much wonderful information at our fingertips. Right. And I think that can contribute to that all or nothing, because like, okay, so I got to do this, and then I have to do that, and then I have to do that, and I get so overwhelmed and I can't even think about it, and I'm not even just going to do any of it. So bare bones, I would say, is try to get into a consistent strength training. Like, to me, strength training it's got to be a non-negotiable. It's absolutely got to be a non-negotiable. And you know, ideally 3 times a week. But again, like I said, if some weeks it might not happen, but you can totally maintain what you've been working towards, even if you have a week where you only go once or twice, or even if you skip a week. Strength does not go away after like a week or 2 of not doing it. Like, the strength that you have built takes like a month of doing nothing before you start to significantly drop off. So I think if women understand that, and they shoot for 3 times a week and they hit it most of the time, but then maybe on a busy, you know, when life interferes, maybe they can get once or twice a week, but at least they can continue to show up consistently with it. I think that will have one of the biggest impacts on what they're trying to accomplish health-wise, if it's fat loss, if it's, you know, just kind of in general being healthy, changing their physique, having more energy. Strength training, hands down, try to show up consistently for that. On top of that, you know, I would say daily movement, because I think we all are just like in this sedentary state. Like, so many of the women in the program, they've got desk jobs, and they can't help that. They just have to go and sit at a desk all day and do their work from their desk. So I really try to emphasize, like, get up and move any opportunity that you can. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom, like, take a loop around the office before you go to the bathroom, maybe afterwards, depending on how bad you have to go. But work in small. And there's that all or nothing mentality again, right? Like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there can really make a big difference. So if you focus on strength training and you focus on daily movement, which means to me, trying to get 8 to 10,000 steps a day, most days, you're going to be light years ahead of most women.
That's good. And speaking of tracking steps and even the strength training, if somebody, does that mean they have to go to a gym? Does that mean they have to purchase lots of equipment and gadgets? Or what are some tools that they can just sort of keep that will be really effective but simple?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely not. I don't think that women have to go to a gym at all. I think that can honestly be a huge barrier. As I mentioned, time is tight, So unless you live in an apartment complex and your gym is a real quick walk right downstairs, I think home workouts are the way to go for busy women, because that eliminates that barrier. You don't have to drive, you don't have to leave your house, and it's right there. So my program is structured around home workouts. Everything we do in the program, you can do at home with some basic equipment. Yes, it requires a small investment in some equipment, but we're talking, you can get started for less than $50 in equipment, dumbbells, and that's it. So dumbbells, a yoga mat, a little bit of space, and that's really kind of the basics that anyone would need. Not just in my program, anyone could do a general strength training workout at home with that equipment. Of course, you need some guidance, and you need a little instruction of what should I do to maximize my results here. But certainly dumbbells, and if someone is just getting started, I'd say get started with 5 pounds and 8 pound dumbbells, and that's about all you need. You will progress with time. That's the goal, to increase the amount of weight that you're lifting with time. So yes, you may need to invest in some 10s and then some 12s. And in the program, we always see women like, I got my 25s. They're all excited to get those bigger dumbbells. So a little bit of an investment, but I always say, like, unlike anything else almost that we purchase, dumbbells are pretty much a lifetime purchase. Like, they don't wear out. They don't fall apart for the most part. They're pretty solid. So yes, you make an investment right now, but like, you're going to have those for years to come, unless you throw them away or sell them or something. So it's a good investment.
Well, good. And if somebody were to say, okay, I'm going to get in a workout routine, I'm going to stick to it, because we know that discipline is more important than motivation. We talked about that. The motivation will come. How important is nutrition? Because I know me, like I've not been a stranger to exercise, but eating is another thing. And again, all this info about low carb, no carb, keto, protein. Is there a basic general rule to follow with nutrition?
Yeah, good question. So, and depending on the individual's goals, right? Because I think fitness is so important for so many aspects of health, and you can absolutely incorporate fitness to get healthier. And if you're not really paying attention to the nutrition part, like, you're still going to get a lot of benefit coming from the fitness component that you're doing consistently. However, depending on your particular goals, like if weight loss or fat loss is your goal, or if you're like, I really want to see some good definition in my shoulders, or, I've got these jeans that are like real tight around my hips. Like, I want to see those fit a little better. I want my clothes to fit more comfortably, that kind of thing. Yeah, nutrition is kind of essential, because, that saying that they say you can't out-train a poor diet. I mean, the workouts that you're doing are good for your body, but you still have to watch your calorie intake if you're trying to lose weight, lose fat. And yes, portion control is huge. Being mindful, like limiting your mindless eating, protein is key. We talk a ton about protein in the program as well. For women who are trying to lose fat, eating in a calorie deficit and strength training, they have to eat enough protein. Otherwise, their body isn't going to hang on to that muscle mass. They're going to start to break down that muscle mass, which is kind of defeating the purpose of your workouts. So if you're eating sufficient protein and you're lifting weights and you're in a calorie deficit, most of the weight you lose is going to be fat, which is kind of what everybody is trying to do. So,
and when you say calorie deficit, what exactly does that mean, or what does that look like for a lot of people?
Yeah, good question. So, well, it looks a little bit different for every individual. And, there's, as a dietitian, there's kind of like, if I were to work with somebody, I would provide that individual guidance. However, as a kind of a general suggestion, if somebody wanted to kind of figure out how many calories do I need, I don't really understand that. I usually suggest they go to this website, and it is called tdeecalculator.net. So it's just a website that helps you calculate how many calories your body needs on a daily basis. And TDEE, without going too in depth, stands for total daily energy expenditure. So basically all we're looking at is how many calories does my body need to just maintain where I'm at, to do the work that I need to do, to sit at my desk, to go for my walks, to do my lifting, based on my height, my weight, my age, and whether or not I'm male or female, and my activity level. So tdeecalculator.net will kind of spit out a number, pretty ballpark number. It's based on some scientific formulas that whoever has come up with, not me, but I utilize it. And then once you determine how many calories you need to kind of maintain your weight, if you want to lose weight, generally what I suggest is you drop that number by about 300 to 500. So a moderate calorie deficit would be about 300 to 500 calories below your TDEE.
Okay. Well, that's a good
Does that make
guideline.
sense?
Yes. Okay. So really watch the calories, get good protein, work out. And I do want to sort of maybe even go back to what I had mentioned earlier. You've talked before on your podcast about motivation versus discipline. So if someone is like, all right, I got my dumbbells, I've got I'm meal prepping, I know what I'm eating. How do they make sure to not fall off? It's not just a New Year's resolution that's going to go by the wayside, but they are going to stick with it.
Oh, great question. So number one, I would just say, don't try to do it all overnight. Most people are not going to be successful with trying to do a complete overhaul, create an enormous amount of change overnight. The best way to go about it is by creating small changes, small steps, create some sustainable change. And initially you're going to be motivated, but it is in creating those habits and showing up consistently that is going to sustain you through that time where you are just, I don't want to do it, because you're going to hit it. You're going to hit the wall. You're going to be tired. You're going to have a huge workload, something come up at work, somebody in the family is going to need you for something, and you're just going to be like, I can't do it. And you're going to be ready to just walk away from it. But if you can kind of slowly start to create those habits, and when you do it slowly, one at a time, they're more sustainable. And recognize that, I'm not always going to want to feel like doing this, but create a list of non-negotiables for yourself. Like, what is the bare minimum that I got to do on a day where shit hits the fan? Sorry if I'm not supposed to swear, but when that hits the fan, what can I do on a bare minimum day? And those are your non-negotiables, and do those regardless of what's going on. And on a day where it's like, everything's going great, do a little extra.
Love that. And what would you say would be considered a bare minimum for, if somebody wanted to know how often should I strength train? Yeah. What's a good sort of number?
Well, 3 times a week, I think, is a good goal, right? 3 times a week. If you can hit that, work that in, again, a bare minimum, I'd say if you could get by with 2. But most weeks hitting 3, that's all you need. That's all you need. 3 times a week. And 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. Like the workout we did today in the program was 30 minutes, upper body workout. We worked it. 30 minutes was all we needed today. So it doesn't have to take 45 minutes to an hour.
Good. And one small change I'm still working on is water.
Good. Okay.
How important is water?
Yeah. I love encouraging water because it's usually a pretty, it's a pretty tangible step that most people can take. It is, it's something that's very accessible. It's free, it's easy to track. Most people tolerate water pretty well. Sometimes they got to add some little flavors into it and that kind of thing, but it's usually a pretty easy change. So I like that one as one of the first ones we start to try to change, because most people, yes, it's habit and it requires effort, but it's not like this, huge ask. Like maybe cutting out fast food would be, or something like that, or when they're just not used to cooking at home. So it's usually a pretty good one to start with. And I think then what happens is we start with that, we focus on that water, and then we gain confidence, because I drank my water today and I drank my water all week long and I hit this target, and all of a sudden you start to feel a little better because like you're hydrated, you got a little more energy, you might get rid of those, darn headaches that you've been battling all week because you're really not drinking enough. And then it just like every small like win kind of piles up, and then you gain confidence that like, okay, I hit my water. Now what can I do? Like you kind of set yourself up for like, now I can be successful with the next thing. It helps you build confidence and build on those small steps. So I think water is a great one to start with. I think a lot of women need a lot of reminders about water because they might do it and then they fall off of it. Again, I think with a busy schedule, women just get distracted and they just kind of forget to drink the water. So setting up those habits and those routines is really important with that as well.
And I have noticed, especially through your program, that absolutely the baby steps, I think for me and a lot of women, baby steps are key. If you think you're going to go all in, you're almost setting yourself up for failure. If you're like, oh, I'm just going to lift all the weights and eat only healthy things and get water every day. And it's almost like start small, and those little wins will keep you motivated once you start seeing those results. And speaking again on motivation, one of my favorite things that I love about when we do our workouts through Inspire is when we are done and when we are stretching, you always have a motivational quote that sort of just, keeps you feeling pumped up even after the workout and gets you going and maybe helps with that motivation to show up again. Do you have any ones maybe off the top of your head or a favorite motivational quote that you want to leave people with?
Oh gosh, I have so many, right? Yeah, that is one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite parts of the workout too. Okay, well, this one would be good. It's right on my desk since I'm put on the spot. And I think it goes along well with what we've talked about today, but it's focus on the step in front of you, not the whole staircase. So focus on the step in front of you, not the whole staircase.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much again. Do you want to tell everyone again real quick what your company is called in case someone is looking to maybe do something virtual if they can't get to a gym every day?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for that opportunity. So yes, my business is called Inspire Health and Wellness. The virtual fitness component itself is called Inspire Fitness, and you can find details on the program on my website. It's inspirehw.com. The way I've grown my business is I've promoted myself all over social media. So I'm on all the major platforms. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram as fit.nutritionist. And then I'm also on Facebook as Casey Young RD CPT. So inspirehw.com is my website.
Yes. Casey Young, thank you so much for being here and for chatting with me today. And I know that some women are just going to watch this and then get out there and kill it.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Yeah, I hope we've inspired someone today. So thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful talking with you.